I need a fake boyfriend for my ex's wedding. The billionaire CEO said, I'll do it, but there's a price. A 27-year-old executive secretary is standing in her boss's office at 5 p.m. on a Friday, trying to find the courage to ask the most unprofessional favor of her career, when Alexander Sterling, 33-year-old billionaire CEO who's been her boss for 18 months, looks up from his laptop and says, "Whatever you're about to ask, just ask it. You've been standing there for 3 minutes and it's making me nervous." So Harper Reed takes a deep breath and says the words that will change both their lives. "I need you to be my fake boyfriend." Alexander stares at her, blinks, then says slowly, "I'm sorry, what?" Harper explains in a rush. Her ex-boyfriend of 4 years is getting married next month to Harper's former best friend, the woman he cheated on Harper with. And because Harper was stupid enough to stay friends with both of them during the transition period, she's invited to the wedding, and everyone will be watching to see if she's moved on, or if she's still pathetically single and heartbroken. "I need someone to come with me," Harper finishes. "Someone impressive enough that my ex and his new wife and everyone from my old life will see that I'm not just okay, I'm thriving. And you're the most impressive person I know." Alexander leans back in his chair, a slow smile spreading across his face that Harper can't quite read. "So you want me, your boss, a billionaire CEO who's been on the cover of Forbes 3 times, to pretend to be your boyfriend at your ex's wedding to make him jealous? Do I have that right?" Harper nods miserably, already regretting this. "Yes, I know it's inappropriate and unprofessional and you're going to say no, but I'm desperate and I couldn't think of anyone else who would." "I'll do it," Alexander interrupts, "on one condition." Harper's heart leaps. "Anything." 2 weeks after your ex's wedding, I have my family's annual charity gala. My mother has been relentless about my relationship status. She invites eligible women, sets up accidental meetings, and has made it her life's mission to see me married before I'm 35. I need a fake fiancé for that event. Someone who can convince my family that I'm seriously involved so they'll back off for at least a year. You do that for me, and I'll be the most devoted, impressive fake boyfriend you've ever seen at your ex's wedding. This story has a deal made. In a CEO's office that seems simple until it's not. A wedding where Harper shows up on Alexander's arm wearing a dress he insisted on buying her. Part of the performance, he says, though his eyes linger too long when he sees her in it. The ex-boyfriend, Jacob, who realizes too late what he lost when he sees Harper laughing with a man who's richer, more handsome, and clearly devoted to her in ways Jacob never was. The moment on the dance floor when Alexander pulls Harper close and whispers, "He's watching. Should I kiss you to really sell this?" And Harper says yes, even though her heart is racing for reasons that have nothing to do with the performance. 2 weeks later, when Harper meets Alexander's intimidating family as his fake fiancé and discovers his mother adores her instantly because "You're the first woman Alexander's brought home who has a real job and doesn't care about his money." The increasingly blurred lines between fake and real as they text each other constantly have dinner together to maintain the story and find excuses to see each other outside of work. Harper's crisis when she realizes she's actually falling in love with her boss. Alexander's confession to his best friend that, "I don't think I'm pretending anymore." And the night when Harper's ex shows up at her apartment drunk, demanding to know if her relationship with Alexander is real, and Alexander arrives just in time to say, "Yes, it's real. It's been real for me since long before you needed a fake boyfriend." What happens when pretending to be in love becomes the realest thing in your life? Subscribe now and hit that notification bell, because YouTube only shows the ending of this story to our most engaged viewers. If you're not subscribed, you might miss how this fake relationship becomes the love story both of them needed. Drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from, because we love connecting with our global community over these delicious fake dating stories. Don't miss what happens when a secretary asks her billionaire boss for an impossible favor, and he says yes, but only if she pretends to be his fiancée. Harper Reed had been Alexander Sterling's executive secretary for 18 months, and in that time she'd handled impossible schedules, difficult clients, and crisis after crisis with calm efficiency. But standing in his office at 5 p.m. on a Friday in September, trying to ask him to be her fake boyfriend, was the hardest thing she'd ever done. "Whatever you're about to ask, just ask it," Alexander said, without looking up from his laptop. "You've been standing there for 3 minutes and it's making me nervous." Harper clutched the wedding invitation in her hand, cream-colored, expensive cardstock, embossed with "Jacob Harrison and Madison Cooper request the pleasure of your company," her ex-boyfriend and her former best friend, getting married. And Harper was invited because she'd been stupid enough to stay friends with them during their transition period from Harper's relationship to their own. "I need you to be my fake boyfriend," Harper blurted out. Alexander's hands froze over his keyboard. He looked up slowly, his gray eyes focused completely on her now. "I'm sorry, what?" "My ex is getting married next month to my former best friend, the one he cheated on me with." Harper was talking too fast now, words tumbling out. "And I'm invited to the wedding because I was an idiot who tried to be mature about the whole situation and stayed friends with both of them. And everyone from my old life will be there. College friends, people I haven't seen in 2 years, and they're all going to be watching to see if I'm over it, or if I'm still pathetically single and heartbroken." "Are you? Still heartbroken?" Alexander's voice was carefully neutral. "No, I'm angry and embarrassed, and I need someone to come with me to this wedding. Someone impressive enough that Jacob and Madison and everyone else will see that. I'm not just okay, I'm thriving." Harper took a breath. "And you're the most impressive person I know." Alexander leaned back in his chair, a slow smile spreading across his face. It was his boardroom smile, the one that meant he was intrigued by a proposal and considering all the angles. "So you want me, your boss, a billionaire CEO who's been on the cover of Forbes 3 times, to pretend to be your boyfriend at your ex's wedding to make him jealous. Do I have that right?" When he said it like that, it sounded completely insane. "Yes," Harper said miserably. "I know it's inappropriate and unprofessional, and you're going to say no, but I'm desperate, and I couldn't think of anyone else who would be convincing enough. I'll do it." Harper's jaw dropped. "You will?" "On one condition." "Anything." Alexander stood and walked around his desk, leaning against it casually. He was tall, 6'2", and even in just his dress shirt and slacks, he'd removed his jacket hours ago, he looked like he belonged on a magazine cover. 2 weeks after your ex's wedding," Alexander said, "my family has our annual charity gala. It's a massive event, 500 guests, major donors, press coverage. And my mother has been relentless about my relationship status for the last year. She invites eligible women to every family function. She sets up accidental meetings. She's made it her mission to see me married before I turn 35 next year." That sounds exhausting. It is. So here's my proposal. You be my fake fiancé for that gala. Convince my family that I'm seriously involved with someone wonderful so they'll back off for at least a year. Do that, and I'll be the most devoted, impressive fake boyfriend you've ever seen at your ex's wedding. I'll make Jacob Harrison regret ever letting you go." Harper studied his face, trying to figure out if he was serious. "You want me to pretend to be your fiancé, in front of your family, your mother? You're smart, professional, articulate, and, you handle high-pressure situations better than anyone I know. You'll be perfect," Alexander smiled. "Plus, you already know all my secrets from being my secretary. You probably know me better than anyone except my best friend." "This is insane. Completely insane," Alexander agreed, "but mutually beneficial. I help you save face at your ex's wedding. You help me get my mother off my back about marriage. Everyone wins. Do we have a deal?" Harper thought about walking into that wedding alone, about watching Jacob marry Madison, about everyone's pitying looks and whispered conversations about poor Harper. "Deal," she said, extending her hand. Alexander shook it, his grip firm and warm. Excellent. Now tell me about this ex-boyfriend of yours. I need to know what I'm working with if I'm going to make him regret his life choices. Over the next hour, sitting in Alexander's office while the building emptied around them, Harper told him everything about meeting Jacob in college. 4 years together. Moving to New York for his job, planning their future, then finding him in bed with Madison, Harper's roommate, her best friend since freshman year. He said he didn't plan it, Harper said bitterly, that he and Madison just connected, and he couldn't help his feelings. Asked if we could all still be friends because he valued our relationship. And you agreed to stay friends? Alexander's tone was incredulous. I was trying to be mature, evolved, not the jealous ex-girlfriend. Harper laughed without humor. Stupid, right? Not stupid, kind, which he took advantage of. Alexander was quiet for a moment. Harper, I'm going to make him realize exactly what he lost, and I'm going to make sure everyone at that wedding sees you with someone who actually deserves you, even if it's just pretend. The wedding was in 4 weeks, the first Saturday in October, at some vineyard in Napa Valley that Jacob's family owned. Alexander insisted they practice being a couple before the wedding. We need to be comfortable with each other, he said during their planning session the following week. Couples have a certain ease, physical comfort, inside jokes, the way they look at each other. If we want this to be convincing, we need to practice. So they had dinner together, twice a week, went to a museum on Sunday, took a walk through Central Park on a Wednesday evening. Each time, Alexander was attentive, charming, the perfect boyfriend, holding her hand, opening doors, listening when she talked, making her laugh. You're very good at this, Harper said during one dinner. At what? Pretending to be interested in me. Alexander's expression flickered with something Harper couldn't read. What makes you think I'm pretending? Because this isn't real. It's a performance. Maybe. But that doesn't mean I'm not interested in you. He held her gaze. Harper, you're intelligent, funny, and you've handled every impossible thing I've thrown at you for 18 months without complaint. Of course I'm interested in you. I'd have to be blind not to be. Harper's heart did something complicated. Alexander, don't worry. I'm not going to make this weird. But I thought you should know, pretending to be your boyfriend isn't going to be difficult. The difficult part will be remembering it's not real. 3 days before the wedding, Alexander took Harper shopping. You need a dress, he said when she protested. Something that makes your ex regret every decision he's ever made. I have dresses. Not like this. He took her to a boutique in Soho where the cheapest dress probably cost more than Harper's monthly rent. Find something that makes you feel powerful. I'll wait. Harper tried on 6 dresses before finding the one, a deep emerald green silk that hugged every curve, with a neckline that was sophisticated but devastating. When she walked out of the dressing room, Alexander's expression stopped her in her tracks. That's the one, he said, his voice rough. Definitely that one. It's $3,000. I'm buying it, non-negotiable. He stood, walked over to her. Harper, you look stunning. Jacob Harrison is going to lose his mind when he sees you in this, and I'm going to enjoy every second of watching him realize what he lost. The wedding was in Napa Valley, a beautiful vineyard with rolling hills and perfect weather. Harper and Alexander flew up together Friday evening, checked into their hotel, separate rooms though they were adjoining to maintain the story, and had dinner at the hotel restaurant. Nervous? Alexander asked over wine. Terrified. What if people see through this? What if Jacob figures out we're faking? Then we sell it better. Alexander reached across the table and took her hand. Harper, trust me. By the end of tomorrow, everyone will believe we're together, including your ex. Saturday afternoon, Harper put on her emerald dress and the confidence that came with it. When Alexander knocked on her door, wearing a dark gray suit that probably cost more than Harper's car, she saw his eyes widen. "You look incredible," he said simply. "So do you." "Ready to make your ex regret his existence?" "Absolutely." They arrived at the wedding exactly on time, not early enough to seem desperate, not late enough to be rude. Alexander kept his hand on Harper's lower back as they entered, a gesture that was both supportive and possessive in exactly the right way. Harper saw Jacob immediately, standing near Xiao, the entrance greeting guests. Madison beside him in a white dress that Harper had to admit was beautiful. When Jacob saw Harper, his face went pale. When he saw Alexander beside her, his expression turned to shock. "Harper," Jacob said, his voice strained. "You came." "Of course, I wouldn't miss it." Harper smiled brightly. "Jacob, Madison, this is Alexander Sterling, my boyfriend." Alexander extended his hand with perfect politeness. "Congratulations on your marriage. Harper's told me so much about you both." Jacob shook Alexander's hand, clearly trying to place the name. "Sterling? As in Sterling Industries?" "That's right. You're Alexander Sterling, the CEO, Forbes 30 Under 30? Jacob's voice had gone up an octave. "You're dating Harper?" "For 8 months now," Alexander said smoothly, pulling Harper closer. "Best 8 months of my life." They moved into the ceremony, and Harper felt Jacob's eyes following them. During the vows, Alexander held her hand, his thumb tracing patterns on her palm, a detail no one could see but her, something that felt intimate and real and sent shivers up her spine. At the reception, they were the perfect couple. Alexander danced with Harper, his hand on her waist, close enough that she could feel his heartbeat. He laughed at her jokes, looked at her like she was the only person in the room, introduced her to people as "my girlfriend Harper," with obvious pride. "He's watching you," Alexander murmured during their third dance. "Your ex. He's been watching you all evening. Is it working? The performance?" "It's working, but Harper..." Alexander pulled her closer, his gray eyes intense on hers. "Should I kiss you? Really sell this?" Harper's breath caught. "Yes." Alexander kissed her on the dance floor, in front of Jacob and Madison and everyone from Harper's old life. It started as a performance, something for show, to prove a point. But the moment their lips touched, something shifted. The kiss was soft, then deeper. Alexander's hand came up to cup her face, and Harper found herself melting into him, forgetting they were in public, forgetting this was fake, forgetting everything except the way Alexander Sterling kissed her like she was precious and essential and exactly what he'd been looking for. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Alexander rested his forehead against hers. "That was..." Harper started. "Yeah," Alexander said. "It was." They stayed that way for a moment, swaying to music neither of them was really hearing anymore, until someone cleared their throat beside them. Jacob, standing there with 2 champagne glasses, looking between them with barely concealed jealousy. "Sorry to interrupt. Harper, can we talk? Privately?" "Anything you need to say to her, you can say in front of me," Alexander said calmly, his arm tightening protectively around Harper. Jacob looked at Harper. "I didn't know you were seeing anyone. Seriously seeing anyone. You never mentioned..." "Why would I mention it? We're not exactly close anymore, Jacob. We're friends." "We're not friends. We're civil. There's a difference." Harper felt Alexander's hand on her back, grounding her. "You moved on with Madison. I moved on with Alexander. We're both happy. That's all there is to say." "But..." Jacob glanced at Alexander, clearly intimidated. "Does he know? About us? About our history? He knows everything. Unlike you, Alexander actually listens when I talk. Harper smiled. Now if you'll... Excuse us, I'd like to dance with my boyfriend some more. Congratulations again on your wedding. They walked away, leaving Jacob standing there, and Harper felt something release in her chest. Closure, maybe. Or just the satisfaction of walking away first. You did great, Alexander murmured as they returned to the dance floor. He's completely rattled. Good. He deserves to be rattled. Harper looked up at Alexander. Thank you for being here, for being perfect. I'm not being perfect. I'm being real. Alexander's expression was serious. Harper, that kiss was part of the performance, I know. That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say that kiss didn't feel like a performance. Not to me. Harper's heart started racing. Alexander, we should talk, but not here, not now, after your family event. After we're done with all of this. Then we talk, okay? Okay. They stayed at the wedding another 2 hours, long enough to be polite. Jacob tried to approach Harper 3 more times, but Alexander skillfully deflected each attempt. By the time they left, Harper's ex looked miserable, and Harper felt victorious. In the car back to the hotel, Alexander said, "You know what the irony is?" "What?" "I spent that entire wedding pretending to be your devoted boyfriend. And the hardest part wasn't the pretending. It was remembering I was supposed to be pretending." 2 weeks later, it was Harper's turn to uphold her end of the bargain. The Sterling family charity gala was at their estate in the Hamptons, a massive property with ocean views, perfectly manicured grounds, and the kind of understated wealth that comes from old money rather than new. Alexander had briefed Harper extensively. His mother, Catherine, was elegant, formidable, and deeply invested in her children's personal lives. His father, Richard, was quieter but equally observant. His younger sister, Emma, was friendly but would definitely test Harper to make sure she was good enough for her brother. "Just be yourself," Alexander said as they drove to the Hamptons Friday evening. "They'll love you." "I'm terrified." "Don't be. You've handled hostile clients, impossible deadlines, and me at my worst. My family will be easy by comparison." The gala was Saturday evening, but they were staying at the estate for the weekend. Catherine had insisted Alexander bring Harper up early, so we can get to know her properly. Catherine Sterling was waiting on the front steps when they arrived. 60 years, old silver hair, styled perfectly, wearing casual slacks and a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than Harper's entire wardrobe. "Alexander!" She embraced her son, then turned to Harper with assessing eyes. "And you must be Harper. I've heard so much about you." "It's wonderful to meet you, Mrs. Sterling." "Catherine, please, come inside, both of you. Richard is finishing some work calls, and Emma will be here for dinner." Catherine linked her arm through Harper's, leading her inside. "Now tell me everything. How did you two meet?" Alexander has been maddeningly vague. Harper glanced at Alexander, who gave her an encouraging nod. They'd prepared for this. "We met at work," Harper said honestly. "I'm Alexander's executive secretary. I started 18 months ago." "Oh, an office romance. How modern." Catherine's tone was carefully neutral, not disapproving but not enthusiastic either. "It wasn't immediate," Alexander interjected. "Harper's far too professional to date her." "Boss, we were just colleagues for over a year. Friends, eventually. Then about 8 months ago, I finally convinced her to have dinner with me. Outside of work, as more than friends." "I see. And you've been dating secretly since then?" "We kept it private," Harper said, "because of the professional situation. We wanted to be sure it was serious before making it public. And now it's serious." Catherine studied Harper. "Serious enough that Alexander brought you home to meet his family. Serious enough that he's introducing you as his fiancée tonight at the gala." Harper's eyes widened. She looked at Alexander. "Fiancé?" "I may have upgraded the story slightly," Alexander said, looking sheepish. My mother is persistent. Girlfriend wouldn't have bought us enough time, but fiancé means at least a year of peace from matchmaking attempts. Alexander Sterling, you can't just tell your mother we're engaged without discussing it with Harper first. Catherine looked genuinely upset with her son, which somehow made Harper like her more. It's okay, Harper said quickly. We discussed it. I agreed. It's just, I forgot we were going with fiancé instead of girlfriend. Catherine studied Harper for a long moment, then smiled. You're a terrible liar, dear, but I appreciate the effort. Come, let me show you to your room. Alexander, you're in your usual suite. Harper, I've put you in the rose bedroom. Separate wings because I'm traditional that way, fake engagement or not. Harper stopped walking. You know we're not really engaged? Darling, I'm 60 years old and I've seen Alexander date at least a dozen women in the last 10 years. None of them looked at him the way you do. And more importantly, none of them made him look the way he looks at you, like you're something precious he's afraid to break. Catherine patted Harper's hand. I don't know what arrangement you two have made, but I do know my son has been different since you started working for him. Happier. More. Present. Less obsessed with work. So whether this is real or fake, you're good for him. And that's all I really care about. Harper didn't know what to say to that. That evening at dinner, Harper met the rest of the Sterling family. Richard was indeed quieter than Catherine, but sharp, asking Harper about her education, her career goals, her thoughts on international trade policy. He was impressed when she had actual opinions. Emma was 28, a surgeon, and skeptical in the way protective younger sisters are. So, you're the secretary, Emma said over dessert. Executive secretary. There's a difference. Is there? Because it seems like you're dating your boss, which is… Emma, Alexander's voice was sharp. Don't. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. She works for you. You have all the power in that relationship. How is Harper supposed to say no to anything when you control her paycheck? She says no to me constantly, Alexander said. Harper's the only person who tells me when I'm being unreasonable. She's turned down my suggestions, argued with my decisions, and generally treats me like an equal despite the professional hierarchy. That's one of the things I love most about her. The table went quiet. Harper stared at Alexander. He'd just said he loved something about her, in front of his family, while they were fake engaged. Well, Catherine said, breaking the silence with a satisfied smile. That's settled then. Emma, stop interrogating your brother's fiancé. Richard, pass the wine. And Alexander, you and Harper should go for a walk. It's a beautiful evening, and I'm sure you'd like some privacy after being grilled by your family all night. They escaped to the estate's gardens, acres of manicured perfection lit by subtle landscape lighting. They walked in silence for several minutes before Harper said, Your family is intense. I know. I'm sorry about Emma. She's protective. She should be. I'm a secretary dating her billionaire brother. It looks bad. You're not just a secretary. You're brilliant, hard-working, and you've made my life infinitely better since you started working for me. My family sees that. Alexander stopped walking, turned to face her. Harper, I need to tell you something. That thing I said at dinner, about loving things about you, that wasn't for show. I meant it. Harper's heart started racing. Alexander, I know we have an agreement. Fake boyfriend for your wedding, fake fiancé for my gala. Clean. Arrangement, no strings. But Harper, I haven't been pretending. Not at your wedding when I kissed you. Not tonight when I told Emma how much I value you. None of it has been fake for me. And I need to know, has any of it been real for you? Harper looked at him. This brilliant, successful, complicated man who'd agreed to help her save face at her ex's wedding and had somehow become essential to her life in the process. Yes, she whispered. All of it has been real. Since that kiss at Jacob's wedding, maybe before that. I don't know when it happened, but Alexander, I'm not pretending anymore either. He kissed her then, in his family's garden, with the ocean breeze and the sound of waves in the background. No audience, no performance, just them. So what do we do now? Harper asked when they broke apart. Now we go to this gala tomorrow as my real fiancé instead of my fake one. We tell my family the truth, that we've been dating for 8 months, that I'm in love with you, that this is real and serious and not just about getting my mother off my back about marriage. But we're not actually engaged. Not yet. But Harper, Alexander pulled a small box from his pocket. I was planning to wait until after the gala, until all of this fake dating arrangement was over and we could start fresh. But my mother already knows we're not really engaged, and my sister is suspicious, and I'm tired of pretending this is anything other than what it is. Me, completely in love with you, wanting to spend my life with you. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, a simple diamond solitaire, elegant and understated and perfect. Harper Reed, will you marry me? For real this time? Not as part of an arrangement or a performance, but because I love you and I can't imagine my life without you. Harper was crying. Yes. Of course, yes. Alexander slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her again, and this time there was no question whether it was real or fake. It was real. It was all real. At the gala the next evening, Harper wore a midnight blue gown that Catherine had insisted on giving her. Something from my closet. It'll be perfect for you. Alexander looked devastating in his tuxedo, and when he introduced Harper to the 500 guests as my fiancé, everyone could see it was real. Jacob showed up halfway through the evening. Apparently he was connected to one of the donor families. When he saw Harper in her gown, wearing an engagement ring that was worth more than his car on the arm of Alexander Sterling, who was clearly, genuinely in love with her, Jacob's face went pale. Harper, I didn't know you'd be here. Small world. Harper smiled. How's married life? It's good. Fine, we're fine. Jacob looked at the ring on her finger. You're engaged? To him? I am. He proposed last night. It was perfect. But you've only been together 8 months. When you know, you know. Alexander appeared beside Harper, his arm sliding around her waist with easy, familiarity. Jacob Harrison, right? We met at your wedding. Congratulations again. Right, thanks. Jacob looked between them. Are you happy? Really? Happier than I've ever been, Harper said honestly. Turns out getting my heart broken was the best thing that could have happened. Led me exactly where I needed to be. After Jacob left, Catherine found Harper and Alexander together. That was the ex? Catherine asked. That was the ex, Harper confirmed. Good. He looks miserable. You look radiant. Alexander looks like he's won the lottery. I approve of all of this. Catherine hugged them both. Welcome to the family, Harper. For real this time. They got married 6 months later. April wedding, small ceremony, with Harper's family and Alexander's blended together. Jacob and Madison were not invited. During the vows, Alexander said, I thought I was doing you a favor when I agreed to be your fake boyfriend. Turns out you were doing me a favor, showing me what real love looks like. Thank you for asking me that ridiculous question in my office. Thank you for trusting me with your broken heart. Thank you for letting me prove I could be the man you deserved. I love you, Harper. Really, truly, not at all fake love you. Harper said, I walked into your office asking for a fake boyfriend and walked out with my future husband. Best business arrangement I ever made. I love you, Alexander. For real. Forever. 5 years later, they had twins, a boy and a girl, and Harper was VP of Operations at Sterling Industries. promoted after their marriage because she'd earned it, not because she was the boss's wife, and everyone knew it. Every year on their anniversary, they watched the video of Jacob's face when he'd seen them together at his wedding. Then they watched the video of Catherine's face when Alexander proposed in the garden. Then they watched their actual wedding video. Best fake relationship ever, Harper always said. Best real relationship that started. Fake, Alexander always corrected. Best question I ever asked. Best condition I ever demanded. Best 8 months of pretending that became forever. Best secretary I ever fell in love with. Best boss I ever fake dated then real married. Their kids would groan. Tell us the story again, about how daddy was mommy's fake boyfriend. So they would, every year. The story of how a desperate question, a conditional agreement, and 2 people pretending to be in love discovered they'd stopped, pretending somewhere between the wedding and the gala and the garden proposal. Best fake dating arrangement ever. Best real love that grew from pretending. Best decision to ask the impossible and get a yes with conditions that changed everything. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments. What score would you give this story from 0 to 10? And where in the world are you watching from? We love connecting with our global community. Share this with someone who needs to hear that asking your boss to be your fake boyfriend is either the worst idea ever or the best, depending on whether he's secretly in love with you. That showing up to your ex's wedding with a billionaire on your arm is the ultimate revenge. That fake relationships have a 100% success rate of becoming real if there's actual chemistry. That protective mothers always know when their sons are faking. And that sometimes the best love stories start with a business arrangement that benefits both parties, until the benefits become irrelevant because you've fallen in love for real. Subscribe if you believe in secretaries asking impossible favors, in CEOs who agree but only with conditions, in emerald dresses that make exes regret everything, in garden proposals that turn fake into real, in families who see through the performance but approve anyway, and in the idea that pretending to be in love is the fastest way to actually fall in love if you're with the right person.